The requirements for a successful full-sized multi-purpose vehicle MPV aren't exactly rocket science. Loads of room, plenty of practical touches, no-nonsense engines, top-notch safety, and it helps if the vehicle in question doesn't feel like a barge to pilot. The latest Chrysler Grand Voyager aims to get the fundamentals right and offers a lot more luxury than its predecessors.
If statistics are to be believed, we're all getting bigger at a fairly astonishing rate. We're also getting broader and we're getting taller. Our kids are getting bigger too, and we need bigger houses, almost stately sized, to house all of us and all of our gear. Families these days, when it comes to vehicles, demand space and plenty of it. If you were designing the ultimate family car today, it wouldn't be family hatch sized any longer. It would probably resemble something more of the scale of this Chrysler Grand Voyager, a car that makes no bones about being big. Two engines are available. There's a 193 brake horsepower 3.8 litre petrol V6 that, to be honest, you'd have to be crackers to sign up for given its thirst and emissions. Or there's this very good 2.8 litre turbo diesel engine that I'm driving here. And that'll be the choice for most sensible consumers. Now, the difference between the two engines is best illustrated by the fact that you need to rev the petrol V6 within an inch of its life to 5,200 RPM to get the peak torque, to get the most from it. Whereas with the turbo diesel, it's much more unstressed. Peak torque arrives at about 3,800 RPM. That's sort of normal acceleration. So progress in the turbo diesels, not only more unstressed, it's actually faster, given that you've actually got more torque, more pulling power on offer, 360 Newton meters compared to the petrol's 305 Newton meters. And that gives it more pulling power than a Porsche Cayman sports car. Now, all of that means that progress in the Grand Voyager is safe and overtaking easy, even when you've got a full complement of passengers and luggage. The 2.8 litre CRD diesel has proved to be a real winner for Jeep and has been rolled out across a number of vehicles in their range. Now, it's not the most refined engine of its type, but it's big-hearted and good to drive. Visibility out of a Grand Voyager is excellent, with big mirrors, short overhangs, and a clear commitment to reduce the width of the pillars. This generation Grand Voyager is bluffer and squarer looking than its more rounded predecessor. It's all a world away from more sports-styled seven-seaters like Ford's S-Max or Mitsubishi's Grandis. And while some may see this as a disappointingly over-conservative approach, others will see it as a relief, a refreshing change from a vehicle not trying desperately to be something that it isn't. As I said, this car is seriously big, featuring very flexible seating for 7, and thanks to this very clever stow and go system, it can be transformed from a 7-seater to a 2-seater in just 30 seconds. Now, the seats slide backwards and forwards, as you can see, and when you're not using them, they fold, thanks to the stow and go system, actually into the floor, so you don't have to clutter up the garage with the things. Passenger safety comes courtesy of traction control, ESP stability control, a tyre pressure monitoring system, front and all seat curtain airbags, and with these 7 full-size seats, you've got 3 of them that have ISOFIX fixings for child seats. A useful option is the swivel and go system that enables this second row of seats to swivel for what Chrysler calls a conversational seating arrangement, so you can chat with the people at the back facing them. And the back seats can power recline into one of 4 positions at the touch of a button. Prices lie in the £25,000 to £35,000 bracket, about what you'd pay for comparable rivals like Mercedes Viano and Renault's Grand Espace, but a little more than you'd expect to pay for smaller 7-seat competitors like Ford's Galaxy, Citroën C8 and Peugeot Z07. Okay, so let's check it out inside. Well, features new to this model include heated first and second row seats. You've got power windows in these power sliding doors. You've got climate control for all passengers inside, 3-zone climate control. There are these helpful LED reading lamps, and you've got a removable torch in the rear quarter panel. There's plenty of storage space too, with these useful overhead boxes. And there's also the option of a dual DVD system to enable passengers in the second row to play games or watch different movies to those in the third row at the back. There's also the option of a MyGig infotainment system, which offers MP3 compatibility, a 20 gig hard drive and touchscreen, and a voice-controlled sat-nav system. If the petrol engine model was significantly cheaper to buy than its diesel counterpart, then it would be possible for me to make a case for it for the low mileage buyer. But it isn't, so I can't. You'd have to be pretty outdated in terms of your view of diesel engines to select the 3.8 litre V6 over its diesel alternative. It just can't match it in terms of thirst and emissions. Mind you, in terms of emissions, you need to take into account that the diesel does put out 247 grams per kilometre. Now, depreciation is an area where the Grand Voyager is going to do reasonably well. It's helped in this regard by upfront pricing that looks relatively reasonable, and by the fact that Grand Voyagers have traditionally been bought by customers who realise that viable alternatives are few. Unless you opt for an 8-seater MPV, only Renault's Grand Espace and Mercedes Viano rival the Chrysler's interior space. And as a compromise between the Renault's rather overt sense of style and the Mercedes' rather van-like demeanour, the Chrysler has found itself a useful market niche. Updating a successful product is always fraught with risk. Go too radical and you risk alienating existing buyers. Too conservative and you risk bolder rivals coming along and eroding your market share. Now, with this latest Grand Voyager, Chrysler has adopted an interesting tack. The exterior is very conservative. I mean, it's hard to imagine a more generic MPV silhouette. But where the company's really blown the budget is in dreaming up ways of making this Grand Voyager so much more livable inside. With its smart seating system and genuine ability to properly seat 7 adults, the Grand Voyager gets the basics right and adds to that a whole host of convenience and comfort features that make this the consummate vehicle for the big family. Add to that excellent safety provision and here's one you can't afford to overlook.